What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Dungeon Master Experience. In this video, we're diving into the fantastic Dungeon Master Experience articles by Chris Perkins. He's one of the lead designers of Dungeons & Dragons. We'll explore his invaluable insights and advice to enhance your skills as a Dungeon Master and create unforgettable D&D experiences for your players. What's up, y'all? As always, this is my first read through, and I hope to give you an authentic reaction and my thoughts as I have them on these articles. These articles were written in the 4th edition era of Dungeons & Dragons, and they're no longer available on the Wizards.com website, and I planned on reading through them, so I figured might as well record it when I do. Anyway, this article is called DM's Lib, and it's from August 11th, 2011. And here we go. Monday night, the heroes are assaulting the Black Candle, the secret stronghold of Vecna-worshipping wizards. Upon reaching the inner sanctum, they discover that their adversaries have summoned an aspect of Vecna mounted on a Dracolich. As the aspect turns to destroy them, the beleaguered, resource-drained heroes lower their weapons and beg for a truce, remembering that they and the maimed lord share a common foe, a growing threat from the far realm. I ask the players to make group diplomacy checks as the aspect of Vecna considers their characters' words. The dice results are in the party's favor, and so the undead lord decides to heed the wisdom of their counsel and forge a temporary alliance. The aspect allows the heroes to destroy those they came to destroy, and promises to send a more worthy vassal to them at a later time, as part of a pledge to aid them in their efforts to destroy the far realm threat. End of session. So this first section in these articles is always usually a lore dump or a recounting of lore from a game that Chris Perkins hosted at his house. And this seems like it was supposed to be a battle between the aspect of Vecna and the Dracolich. And what ended up happening seems to have been a little bit of negotiations where the players talked their way out of a fight. And it seems that may have derailed Chris's plans for the evening. So that's what I'm taking away from this. This is not how I expected the game session to end. I expected what most Dungeon Masters expect. A few minced words, followed by a lot of blood and shattered bones. But then I sometimes forget that a good Dungeon Master provides the compass, but lets the players choose the direction. I've often said that improvisation is the best tool in any Dungeon Master's toolbox. It's definitely the most used tool, that's for sure. Actually, it's more of a skill than a tool, and I primarily rely on improvisation to curtail on preparation time and to keep my game from stalling or becoming dull. And like any skill, it develops over time. If you doubt your improvisational skills, take the following test. All right, this is fantastic, guys. We're going to take this test together. I haven't read this, so this is going to be legit. Let's see what this test is. The heroes have a quest to slay Snur Ironbelly, the fire giant king. After slaughtering their way to his august presence, they decide on a whim not to kill him. Instead, they offer their services as mercenaries for hire, citing their success in breaching his hall as proof of their competence. Maybe the offer is genuine. Maybe it's a ruse. Regardless, does Snur attack the heroes? Okay, so my opinion of this situation is that having the Fire Giant King simply attack the heroes is probably the most boring outcome. That's not to say that it's not the most logical outcome. However, if you could think of something to use their possible ruse, maybe they want to be mercenaries for hire for the Fire Giant King, that would be slightly more interesting. So my knowledge of fire giants is that fire giants love forging items, I believe. Like blacksmithing, and like the better the blacksmith, the more higher in rank you are among the fire giants. So what I would do is somehow tie that in to any kind of mercenary mission that is assigned to the player characters. And this scenario is almost like a dream come true for Dungeon Master, in my opinion, because it's like the players are giving you a quest hook, essentially saying, we will take this quest hook. And the worst case scenario is they fight the Fire Giant King, which was what was going to happen anyway. So anyway, that's my take on it. I would give them depending on what happened, man, like if they've slain hundreds of the guards and demolished this guy's whole kingdom, and he's the last remaining survivor in the final throne room, I don't know how realistic it is for him to hire them as mercenaries, but let's say it's not like that. Let's say they kind of ninja mode stealth their way in, get a couple kills on his guards, and then they're in there talking to him or something like that. Or maybe they just sneak in and they're talking to him. I would definitely allow them to be mercenaries of some sort, and I would tie it into foraging items or something like that. Perhaps this fire giant king could hire them to destroy the forge of a rival fire giant clan. I like that one. That way it's kind of like a sabotage mission. Anyway, that's my answer. Let's see if I pass the test according to Chris Perkins. Some dungeon masters prefer to run published adventures because the story is heavily scripted, and the likelihood that the dungeon master will be called upon to improvise is greatly reduced. But even published adventures cannot account for every action the player characters might take, and I think most dungeon masters figure that out on the first game they ever run. In Hall of the Fire Giant King, the classic AD&D module, the heroes are expected to kill Snur. At least that's what Gary Gygax surely intended when TSR published the original adventure back in 1978. However, no published adventure can account for every possible player choice, and a good dungeon master, like any good storyteller, knows an opportunity when he or she sees it. Snur's death might be a foregone conclusion, but situations that naturally arise to forestall the inevitable are always worth exploring, as are opportunities that allow characters to break out of the traditional adventurer role and spend a few sessions trying on different hats, like the mercenary hat, for example, or exploring their morality. Were I the dungeon master, I would let the skill check results guide my decision, but I would be strongly disposed towards taking the story in the more unexpected direction. Me too, me too. Being a fire giant, Snur would certainly respect shows of brute force and raw power, so of course he'd want mighty adventurers at his beck and call. Who wouldn't? Having the heroes become Snur's henchmen, even briefly, is the stuff players will remember long after the campaign has ended. Totally agree. Totally agree. I think I might have given a much longer, long-winded answer than Chris did, though. But let's try the next test. The heroes receive a quest to escort the imperial heir to the capital. The foolish young heir proves to be a royal pain in the ass, and despite the hero's efforts, or because of them, the heir dies en route. Rather than deliver his dead body, the heroes bury it and decide that one of them will use a hat of disguise to impersonate the heir and perhaps, in time, assume lordship over the kingdom. As the dungeon master, do you allow this? All right, I've already got some ideas. Yes, I allow them to try. But what's going to happen in my game, I've already figured it out in 1 second, is that the kingdom is going to have a royal magician or a royal wizard who's going to have some sort of like eyeball or glasses or some sort of item that completely just sees magic and sees through illusions. So he's going to know from the jump street that the guy is impersonating the heir. But that royal magician is going to go along with it because he didn't like the real royal family anyway, and has a chip on his shoulder. And then we're going to go from there that essentially that kingdom wizard is going to be holding this information over the player's head the entire time. I don't have it all fleshed out now, but that's where my mind instantly went in 1 second with this scenario. Let's see what Chris Perkins says about it. Yes, of course you do. Maybe you never expected the campaign to bend in that direction, but it's a perfectly logical development of the story and one that's likely to spur all kinds of wonderful role-playing opportunities and campaign developments. Suddenly, the heroes have a secret and a chance to really turn the campaign on its head. By allowing for unexpected twists and turns, you force yourself to improvise, and every time you do this, your improvisational skill improves and the player's expectations are blown out of the water. In a seminar at San Diego Comic-Con, I urge dungeon masters to underprepare, then improvise. My campaign, like many campaigns, has needs that published adventures can't address. It has lots of role-playing and politics and very few sprawling dungeons. Consequently, I rarely use published adventures, even short ones, preferring to devise my own encounters week after week. Before each game session, I type up a one-page document that goes into my campaign binder. Click here for an example. I clicked there for an example, it went to wizards.com, and there was nothing on that page. It just took me to the wizards.com homepage, even though this link goes directly to what would have been an image in 2011. So essentially a dead link, but it goes to wizards.com. On this page is a summary of important things that need to be recapped at the start of the session, followed by a list of NPCs who will likely make an appearance, followed by short descriptions of events or encounters I expect to happen. If the adventure includes a location to explore, I include a map accompanied by swatches of descriptive text, reminding me of important details. Sometimes I'll require a stat block for a unique NPC or monster, but I try to use existing stat blocks and modify them as needed, as discussed in Instant Monster. Again, a dead link to wizards.com website if you are interested in the Instant Monster article. I've already made a video on it, and I will put it in the description. And this is a good time to mention that this is article number 26 in the series, And then the entire playlist of these articles, the link to it will be in the description. So enjoy that if you like the sound of my voice as much as I do. The one-page session overview illustrates the degree to which I underprepare for a game session. It provides a few guideposts, but most of the session is improvised. I find my players don't suffer for the lack of preparation on my part, as long as I prod them when the action stalls and roll with them once they've committed to a course of action. Lessons learned. When the players do something that threatens to take the story in an unexpected direction, allow it and imagine the next logical outcome or event and proceed from there. If, for some reason, you can't think of the next logical outcome or event, consider ending the session on a cliffhanger and allowing yourself time to mull over the implications. A hero wants to use a hat of disguise to impersonate the royal heir? No problem. But let's see what happens when a perceptive royal sibling succeeds at an insight check and senses something is amiss. Maybe the thread of discovery leads the characters to kill two birds with one stone by murdering the king and framing the suspicious sibling for his death. Again, no problem. Yeah, the characters have usurped a kingdom, but all the threats to the kingdom are still there. And ironically enough, the hero's skills as adventurers might be the kingdom's best hope of survival. The campaign marches on, just not in the way you or your players expected. I like it. His idea of the royal sibling succeeding an insight check is quite similar to my royal wizard with the seeing eyeglass that can see the truth. But I do like his main point here where he says the campaign marches on, just not in the way you or your players expected. In modern Dungeons & Dragons, it seems that there is becoming a trend, especially with younger players that started in 5th edition, to have what's, I call it the quote-unquote the story in capital letters, where they almost like plot out this quote-unquote story and then kind of guide the players through the story. When, you know, everybody can enjoy Dungeons & Dragons the way they like, but growing up in the 80s playing D&D, that's not how we played, so that's not how I play now. Yeah, I'm more of a, with the Chris Perkins school of thought of the campaign marches on, just not in the way you or your players expected. So my Monday night group, out of dire necessity, has forged an alliance with the evil god of secrets. That's such a great opportunity, because everything they do and everything they know, there's always an evil secret that they don't know about yet, and it just never ends. I could see that being amazing to play around with. The players know it's a marriage of convenience, not long for the world, but it raises lots of interesting questions and opens up lots of role-playing opportunities. Can the heroes learn to work alongside Vecna's evil servants? Will certain characters' personal misgivings threaten to end the alliance? Which side will betray the other first? By their choices and actions, the players have made the campaign more interesting and complicated, and they've put my improvisational skills to the test. I shall not disappoint them. I've learned that the secret to developing one's improvisational skills as a dungeon master is to listen to what the players want to do and then steer the adventure in that direction, even if it runs counter to my own expectations. Only when my expectations are challenged can the campaign go off in surprisingly fun directions. Many campaigns die of boredom, DM boredom, player boredom, or both, but you can mitigate the threat of boredom by keeping yourself open to ideas and demonstrating to your players that you're not locked into telling one story and one story only. Bingo. Until the next encounter. All right, y'all, that was a good one. I really enjoyed that article. If you want to keep me motivated in reading these and making these more often as much as I can, I trade in the standard currency of the people that upload videos to YouTube, which is going to be your likes, your comments, and your shares, and your subscribe, and all that good stuff. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this article. And if you'd like to listen to the others, the link is in the description. And while you're scrolling down towards the description box, there's a like button you can hit, subscribe button you could hit, and you'll be in good shape. Anyway, the next article is called Epic Fail. So that one sounds kind of fun. And so that's what's next up on the list when I get a chance to read it and record it. Until then, see ya.